My name is Ariana Markle, and I'm a transfer student from Western in engineering at the Lausanne School in Earth, Space, Science, and Engineering.
All right. On March 21st, there was an evacuation at Vari Hall because of an unattended suitcase which was found on the second floor of a female washroom. So does that black suitcase belong to you?
Yes, it does.
What was in the suitcase? Can you tell us about the contents?
Yeah, I had some dry cleaning in there, some toiletries, underwear, and a hair straightener.
All right.
Yeah, so just basic necessities.
What was your reaction?
And maybe some crackers, some food. Possibly some chocolate. Yeah.
So the contents were relatively harmless.
Yeah, like whatever you would usually put in a suitcase if you were traveling.
So given that, what was your reaction when you saw that your suitcase had suddenly become the subject of breaking news?
I was shocked, and also I feared for my safety. I realized that it had been conflated in the public eye rather rapidly in terms of, it was breaking and developing. So there was an insinuation that it was, that it could be something of international or national concern. And for me, I found that absolutely shocking and absurd, given the context of the situation and the amount of disruption to my life over the course of the week leading up to that. I felt very disappointed in the fact that it was conflated and misrepresented in the media.
Okay, so to put it in a way, so in your Facebook post, you said that you experienced sexual assault.
Yes.
And there were a series of events. That particular assault triggered a series of events that led to the suitcase being abandoned.
Yes, that's
so
right.
If we can just slowly go over the timeline step by step.
Okay, well, in October, I called up the police after experiencing a sexual assault. I would be qualified as a perfect victim in the respect that right after it occurred, I called the police. There was witnesses. I screamed for help, and the police. My landlord came to assist me in the matter, and the police were called to the scene. The individual was arrested, and I was transported to the hospital by way of ambulance, and I spent 8 hours in the hospital overnight, and I came back and I began to do a report with the male individual there. There was no female available, even though I expressed my discomfort with disclosing the details pertaining to the events that had occurred with him. So I began to do my report with him, and it was somewhat abruptly cut short. And he said that, I'm sure you've had enough of dudes for today, so I'm going to, I'll get the female to follow up with you. Investigator? Yeah.
You can.
Okay, so in my conversation with Tristan Morris, he was very condescending, patronizing, and aggressive with me on the phone. When I tried to explain that it wasn't proper, that they were threatening me and coercing me to come in because, as a victim survivor, like I had, the rights to self-determination and to somewhat define my own, conceptualization of justice. that informed consent in the process was paramount. He told me to be quiet and stop talking, and I, I told him that it wasn't right what he was doing, and somewhat, and he was very, he was not happy that I was questioning his methods, and he kept on saying, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? I said, yes, I am talking to you. So I was very confident in that. I didn't feel that was an appropriate response, and I didn't really accept that was a possibility, but nonetheless I contacted the female investigator because I was under the impression that the female investigator had been handed over the case in its entirety. I didn't understand at the time that it had been partitioned. So based on him being arrested, when I initially talked to Todd Seaton, he had advocated pretty much on behalf of my rapist or my abuser, and had created a partition in the case whereby he was investigating the countercharge allegations that he made while detained, and the female investigator was handling my case. So there was a partition of the case. It wasn't just I wasn't the main, even though I was the one that called up the police and I was the one that was sexually assaulted due to the fact that I had requested a female, and another investigator got involved, and I had this dissident activity. Perhaps he was not happy about that and decided to pursue the countercharge allegations, right? So I was arrested accidentally. I was in Mississauga, and I was asking directions from a police officer, and he was helping me to charge my phone because I was on my way to yoga on International Women's Day, to meet my friend Morgan, and it just was they were actually going to help to drive me somewhere because I was lost. I was in Mississauga and I'm not familiar with the area. And they said that in order, to help me further, they would need my name, right, just to do a report. And I thought nothing of it. They, input my name and information, and they said, "Are you aware that there's a warrant for your arrest?" And I said, "No," because I had no knowledge of that previously. It was completely incidental. I actually, the police were helping me. I thought, they were going to they were helping to charge my phone and whatnot. So it was just, theoretically, if it could have been up to a year that I would have been, the warrant could have been indefinitely out and I wouldn't have known. It's serious. No one ever communicated that to me at any point. So right. It wasn't because I went in, I know that you're confused, but I wanted to state that because I was being coerced into go in by the female, and that makes me somewhat question the whole process, because I was, the female was, said that we can't pursue your allegations, we're going to close the case, and say I were to theoretically have gone in, if I had decided to do that, it would have been severely traumatic for me because I would have went in, maybe believing that perhaps, I wanted some redress or, retribution, or, because I conceptualized my own understanding of events and I didn't really want to go through a trial.
When you made a Facebook post shortly thereafter claiming ownership, did the York campus security contact you to return your suitcase?
No one ever contacted me. No one ever issued an apology. As soon as it just seemed that as soon as I posted my response about the story, content was suppressed immediately, and it went from being developing to suddenly a flat line. Yeah, so I guess there is like that aspect of the suppression of, you know, and that's really, I think that fits into everything. There's, you know, like there's the suppression of the victim's experience and their, and, you know, like their just views on the events and, you know, lived experience. That was completely denied to me. So no one contacted me. I you know, like on Facebook, various people, you know, there was obviously a lot of commotion surrounding it at that time. So on Facebook, I, you know, like I said, the suitcase is mine. What do I do? I go just in a comment section on the York-U page, and they told me to contact security, and I told them I wasn't comfortable contacting security because of some of the lack of responsiveness that I spoke to you about, and
you were disillusioned.
And yeah, the lack of responsiveness that I had experienced when disclosing this violence back in October to the administration and to security. So I didn't feel comfortable approaching them, and I expressed this to them. And I was just given a number of, I don't know, like some member of administration, and I asked what had happened to it if my belongings were destroyed. You know, because sometimes in those cases they put fire retardant on it and, you know, destroy the contents, right? So up to this point, I haven't actually received the suitcase.